98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10am on 98FM.
A Dublin father who has regularly spoken out about road safety has said that it might be time to look at changing the law here so that people who earn more are fined more for driving offences. Leo Ligio has campaigned tirelessly since his 16-year-old daughter Marissa was mowed down at the pedestrian lights on the Fonthill Road back in 2005. I want to find out firstly a little bit more about his daughter. Leo, welcome to 98FM.
Hi Adrian, how you doing?
13 years later, and I'm sure the pain never goes away.
No, not at all. First of all, I got it corrected. It was Marcia, not Marissa.
Oh, sorry, Marcia. My apologies. Sorry.
No problem.
It actually says Marcia on my script here, but
no.
I assume it was a typo. Sorry, my apologies. Go on.
No problem. No, you live with it every day, Adrian. It's a man. When Marcia died, an old man came knocking to my door. Marcia was at home, lying in the coffin, and he wouldn't even come into the house. And he says, same thing happened to his daughter a number of years ago. He says, people will tell you that time will heal. He says, trust me, it doesn't. And it's true, it doesn't heal. You just learn to move on, cope.
So take me back to the day, back in 2005. What happened to Marcia?
Marcia had been out with a few friends that afternoon, and I got a call about 20 past 8 saying that she'd been knocked down. And the first reaction was, I for a few seconds, I just couldn't believe it, and then I just shouted, called to Teresa, my wife, and we just raced down to Denali where it happened, and Marcia was lying on a stretcher. She had been hit by a hit-and-run driver, knocked Marcia out of her runners to the height of the traffic lights, and then drove off and left it just lying on the street. Marcia was taken to Tala Hospital, and she fought for her life for a full week. She was a couple of days in Tala Hospital, and then she was moved to Beaumont Hospital. And like seeing your daughter lying there for a week in a hospital bed, one of your hopes are up, the next they're down. And there's one moment I tell everybody, and I'll never forget. There was Marcia had been in an induced coma, so she never regained consciousness. But every time they tried to bring her out, she get kind of agitated. And I'd be there holding her hand and telling her that we were there with her. And not to be afraid. I felt her squeeze my hand for a few seconds, and then she went back to sleep again. And that was the only communication I had with my daughter for the whole week. And I don't know if she heard about everything that myself and the rest of her brothers and sisters and her mother said to her that week, but I pray to God that she did.
Talk to me a bit about the woman who actually mowed your daughter down.
Well, she's a very well-known woman in Dundalk in the criminal world, I believe. She was a heroin addict. She admitted she was down in Dublin to buy drugs that day, and it's very hard to describe her. She was 21 at the time, and as usual, people making excuses for her. She was a drug addict and all this bullshit. Well, we had to listen to from our solicitor in the courtroom. And she was up on numerous charges. She was sentenced to 12 months in Dundalk on other offences, and she got 12 months. And because she's already serving 12 months and Marcia's case was held in the district court, all she got was 12 months. The judge was apologetic because he was basically throwing the book on her, getting a maximum sentence for everything, but he was limited to what he could do. And she had already been banned from driving, and as far as I know, she was out on bail. At the time she killed Marcia, she was banned from driving the year before. So she had about 40, 50 previous convictions as well, I believe.
Wow, okay. Previous convictions for drink driving.
Driving, theft.
And only a young woman at the time. Okay, so, like I said, I can still hear that pain in your voice, and you're talking about your daughter and recalling the week after the accident and her passing away and everything else, and it just sounds horrific, Leo. But you have kind of dedicated Marcia's life to campaigning, and you have done for many years for road safety. One of the things that, that you've brought up lately is the whole idea of making fines hurt. And what do you mean by that?
Well, the penalties out there at the moment, Adrian, are just there's no deterrence. There's no rhyme or logic to them. Like when a poor person on social welfare can get fined €80 or €200, and that's going to be the same as someone who's earning 15 to 20,000 a month. It's just ridiculous. The penalties have to reflect the crime, and that's the problem in this country. That road traffic offences are not called crimes. Like if you get into your car, drink, drive, or speed, it's not a crime. It's only an offence. It's not a crime, and it's just these things are not treated seriously enough by the government, by the courts, and the public have a responsibility themselves because they're the ones who get into the cars and drive, and they have to be. The punishment has to fit the crime. Justice has to be seen to be done as well as done, and it's not being done at the moment. People are not paying any attention to it. They're just ignoring it. The penalty points don't work anymore. The fines don't work anymore, and the whole system is crazy. The system is crazy. Like road deaths have come down from when Marcia died. There was 396 people killed on the roads that year. They were down to 158 last year. But
it's still 158 too many.
It's still 158 people. When you think of the money the government spend in this country on anti-terrorism measures, right? And many people were killed by terrorism act the last few years.
In Ireland, thankfully, none that I know of.
Yeah. And you look at the money that's spent on the roads, on road safety, on the 158 people killed. And that's not to mention the number of people that have been seriously injured. You're talking about 8 to 10 times that number every year. And
one of the things that has been in the news over the last couple of days was the size of the fine handed down to television presenter Ant McPartlin over his drink driving case. And in euro, he was fined the equivalent of about €100,000. Now, some people thought that was totally disproportionate to his crime. Others say if you can afford to pay it, you should be made to pay. Do you believe, and sorry, by comparison, somebody like Conor McGregor, who'd be worth even more than Ant McPartlin, appears in court last November and he was fined €400. Now, you obviously believe that you should be fined in proportion to what you earn.
Absolutely. Like, what was that? What was that to terror Conor McGregor? €400.
Nothing whatsoever. No.
His bodyguard could have took that out of his pocket, and then we seen him getting into his car and speeding off after that as well. So there was no deterrent there at all. Like the fines have to be proportionate, but it has to be in conjunction with bans as well. Like what Ant McFarlane did, like he crashed into two cars as well, and one of the cars had two kids in it, as far as I know. Like he should have been charged with dangerous driving as well.
Which he wasn't, yeah.
Which he wasn't. Like, and because they're celebrities and because they're wealthy people, they're getting the benefit of the doubt and people feeling sorry for them because they're celebrities. And that shouldn't come into it at all. The normal human beings earn a lot more money than the ordinary Joe Soap. And the penalty, the consequences should be proportionate to what they earn. No two ways about it.
So somebody who's a company director earning $500,000 a year should be fined an awful lot more than somebody who is on social welfare.
Absolutely.
And do you think that would act as a deterrent where a company director is... And let's be honest, speeding isn't confined to any age group or any economic background or anything. When it comes to bad driving, it's right across the board. It does.
Absolutely.
So a company director earning $500,000 needs to be aware that if he were to be done for whatever motoring offence, that he could be fined $80,000 or $50,000.
I agree totally with that. And one caveat I put on that there now, it depends on the traffic, and it depends on the offence, the seriousness. Personally, I would like to see the cars confiscated and destroyed, especially for repeat offenders. But that'll never happen. I can't see that happening in this country anyway.
Okay, so while, yes, you accept that road safety has definitely improved in Ireland, and those figures of the amount of deaths, 396 when your daughter died, down to 158 this year. Yes, it still is 158 too many, but it's still 230 less than it was the year that that your daughter was killed. You believe that the next step to improving that even more is to make people more afraid to break the law when it comes to bad driving. Absolutely, because you see yourself driving along the streets, Adrian, that people just they're not paying attention. There's no fear. There's no fear of anything. They know they're going to get 3 penalty points, and like when you see Shane Ross trying to bring this bill in now, where there's a 3 months ban for first-time offenders for drink driving, if they're caught over the limit. Mm-hmm. And Fianna Fáil want to bring in 5 penalty points and €500 fine. You have to be caught 3 times then before you're put off the road. Like, there's no deterrent in that there. If people know they're only going to get 3 penalty points and a small fine, what the hell? It's not enough of a deterrent.
Not a chance.
Say, for example, somebody, and in fact we had a tragic incident again only on the weekend just gone, where a teenage girl was mowed down by somebody in Kilcoole in County Wicklow. Now, when I hear of another incident like that, of a young lady nearly the same age as your own daughter being mowed down in Kilcoole, that's just, to be honest with you, I don't understand how anybody could live with themselves and drive on from a crash like that and hear it on the news the next day and know bloody well that they were the person who mowed that person. A man has been arrested after that hit and run. The young 17-year-old is still in a critical condition. But how somebody can live with themselves after mowing somebody down like your daughter, I'll never know.
Adrian, the woman that killed my daughter, right? When we were interviewed by the guards told us they caught her and she was very sorry and very remorseful, right? The usual story.
Of course she's going to say that, yeah.
2 weeks after that, she was up in Belfast and almost killed another 18-year-old girl in the same way.
Wow.
Now, that guy that ran that girl down in Kilcoole, he'll go to court and probably get a few months suspended sentence or something like that there. Where's the deterrent in that? Like, I do a bit of work for the Irish Road Victims Association, and I only got involved with them after Marcia died. And that's an awful shame. Like, we're all in a club in that group that nobody wants to be a member of. Every year we have the memorial services, but I wish I'd have known about Irish Road Victims before Marcia died, and then I could have done something. And people can do that now. They don't sit back and wait and think, oh, it only happens to other people, that I don't need to do anything. That knock won't come knocking on my door. Someday it might. And we don't want to see it. Like, we're not making any money. We're an NGO. There is an NGO, and all we want to do is save people's lives in our children's memories. That's all we fight for. We've nothing to gain from it, not like the drinks industry or the motor industry. Like, why manufacture cars that can go 120, 200 kilometres an hour when the speed, over 200 kilometres an hour when the speed limit is 120 kilometres an hour?
In fact, I was on the motorway driving to Cork on Saturday, and I was doing 120 driving down the motorway, and when I say a guy flew past me, he must have been doing 180 kilometres on the M8 the other day. It was just unbelievable. He went right past me.
Because the guards aren't on the roads, and it's not the guards' fault, it's the government's fault for that, putting out not providing enough enforcement. If there was enough enforcement and the penalties were severe enough, I guarantee you then the road deaths would be halved. But they're more willing to spend money elsewhere than on road safety. And the courts have a lot to answer for as well. The judges handing out ridiculous sentences. You get into your car and kill someone, and the maximum you're going to get is 5 years. And you know that you've been speeding, you know you've broken the law, you know you're getting into the car with drink driving, or using your mobile or on drugs, you know you're doing something wrong. That's manslaughter. Call it what the bloody well is. This all has to be changed. The road traffic collisions, speeding, drink driving, they have to be reclassified as crimes, not road traffic offences. And that
is the difference, absolutely. Can I just, what I think of it, Leo, just spare a thought, excuse me, because I'm very conscious of the story you told about your daughter, how she was in an induced coma for a week. My thoughts and prayers are with the family of this, and this girl herself, this 17-year-old, who remains in a critical condition in Beaumont Hospital. I can only imagine, and you can, from first-hand experience, remember the pain that family has to be going through as we speak. And I just wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to that family and to that girl. And I hope that she manages to pull through. It's an awful story. It really is.
It's absolutely horrendous. Like, talking about it now, I can still picture the room that we were in. And walking those aisles and like like we said, some family is going through exactly what you went through all those years ago, right now. I said, I pray that this young lady, this 17-year-old girl, will pull through and make a recovery. They have to have my prayers as well, and my family's prayers.
All right, Leo, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on 98FM.